All right, guys, welcome to 8.2, day one. Today we're going to introduce two new rules. One of them's about negative exponents, and one of them's when the exponent is zero. So, first rule, any non-zero number or variable to the power of zero is always equal to what? And in order to figure this out, I want you guys to type all of these in the calculator and show me what you get. All right, now be careful. If there's parentheses, you need to use parentheses. All right, so number one, parentheses, -2, parentheses, to the zero power. You get 1. All right, number two, 3 to the zero power. You get 1. All right, number three, 6,779,224 to the zero power is 1. And then lastly, number 4, now this one has a negative and then a parenthesis. We got alpha y equals to make a fraction of 1/4 to the zero power. And this one's -1. Okay, so what's the rule? Any number or variable to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. The only exception is if there's a negative outside, then it's -1. Okay, so anything to the zero power is 1. Okay, now on to negative exponents. And here I need you guys to do a little bit of work too. All right, so here's what we're typing in the calculator. So everybody do, what's 2 to the second power? And let me slide this over here. Okay, 2 to the second power is 4. And then here, do 2 to the first power. 2 to the first power is 2. And let's just keep going. This one, what's 2 to the zero power? Well, we don't have to do it because anything to the zero power we know is just 1. And then do 2 to the -1 power. Now, I don't want you to write 0.5. I want you to write it as a fraction. So hit math and then hit enter on option 1, frac. And then hit enter one more time and it turns it into a fraction. So I would prefer 1/2 here. And then lastly, do 2 to the -2 power. And let's do the same thing. No decimal. Let's turn it into a fraction by hitting math. And then hit enter on option 1, frac. And then hit enter again. And we are going to put 1/4. Okay, guys, so what's the rule? What happens when you have negative exponents? What do you notice? So see how these numbers just went into the denominator? Right? Like instead of being 4, when the exponent was negative, it became 1/4. And instead of being 2, when the exponent was negative, it became 1/2. So the rule is when you have bases with negative exponent, they drop to the denominator. That's kind of what's happening. They drop to the denominator. All right, so let's try some examples. So flip it over. Okay, here's the big rule now. If you have a base with a negative exponent, you drop it to the denominator and it becomes positive. All right, so if you have a base with a negative exponent, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, thank you. I hope you guys said bless you. So if you have a base with a negative exponent, you drop it to the denominator and it becomes positive. And then some little rules also you have to remember. The base and the exponent must move together. Any term without a negative exponent stays where it is. Do not move it. And if everything moves, replace it with a 1. Okay, but let's just try some. All right, so number 1. If you have a base with a negative exponent, you need to drop it to the denominator and it becomes positive. Now, since the whole thing went down, you do have to put a 1 on top, just to show that it's in the denominator. All right, let's try 2. If your base has a negative exponent, you need to drop it to the denominator, and it becomes positive. And if it all went down, you have to put a 1. Okay, number 3. If you have a base with a negative exponent, you drop it to the denominator, but that 6 is not connected. It is not attached to the negative exponent, so it gets to stay put. So we don't need a 1 on this one because we have a 6. Okay, number 4. If you have a base with a negative exponent, we drop it and it becomes positive. But the a had a positive exponent, so we do not drop it. So just be careful on these that you keep them separate and you only move the base with the negative exponent. The other one stays put. All right, let's try a couple more. Number 5, if you have a base with a negative exponent, you need to drop it and it becomes positive. And then notice there's also a 2 down there, so we leave it there. And now since everything's in the bottom, we need a 1. Okay, number 6. If you have 2 bases with negative exponents, they both drop and they both become positive. And since everything's down, we still need a 1. Okay, number 7, if you have a base with a negative exponent, we need to drop it and it becomes positive. And notice there's also a p already down there, so it's going to stay put. And then since everything's now down, we need a 1. All right, last one, guys. If you have a base with a negative exponent, we need to drop it and it becomes positive. But the 5 is all good, so the 5 gets to stay on top. All right, guys, that's negative exponent rules day 1.